Okay, so, well, how are you to begin with, over the other end of the globe?
I'm good. I'm good. I think I'm probably feeling the same as we're all feeling. There's a general feeling of a little bit of uneasiness with the state of the world at the moment, but doing the best that I can, taking the time to be as creative and trying to stay positive, and but good.
So we are happy to have you here on the 36th Haifa Film Festival, and it's a pity you can't come, of course, from one end of the ocean to another end of the Mediterranean, but sometime, hopefully in the future, we'll be here. We'll be glad to host you.
One of my saddest disappointments that I haven't been able to travel with this film because of the way the world is right now. So, but I'm so glad it's reaching audiences out there.
So actually, what we're talking about is sleep, with Max Richter's Sleep. And actually, you're coming to the film after it has been, the musical work has been shown in many places in the world. And you come to the LA production, and you're facing, correct me if I'm wrong, you're facing an eight-hour-long music work, which has already been done, which has already been recorded as one of the top records of the BBC Radio 3, because it was the longest live broadcast. Mm-hmm. And there's a dilemma within the question. Max Richter wants his audience to sleep. You don't want the audience to sleep while they see your movie. How do you cope with this crazy situation?
You have hit the nail on the head. That was the most difficult part of the project, because the composition is written by Max, and it is written to sort of create this experience of, whether it's sleeping or waking, whatever you do, no rules to the experience, but it's overnight and there's beds, and you bring your blankets and you can sleep if you want. And Max's creative partner and wife, Yulia, she designed the experience. She created she had this vision for the communal experience of all sleeping together in these really special locations, whether it was, the outdoor, the first outdoor performance in Los Angeles, or beautiful cathedral in Antwerp, or the Sydney Opera House. You were in these magnificent, very ethereal spaces. And yes, how do you capture this without disturbing that experience? How do you maintain the experience of the audience, of the performers, of the vision for the artists and the creators, but still capture it? So it was the most challenging part of it. But with that sort of vision of, really wanting to maintain and preserve this hypnotic, tenderizing experience, that's what I wanted to capture. So we had a very light footprint. I used some remote cameras on the stage, so you never got distracted by seeing too many camera operators. I filmed a lot from buildings above looking down.
Yeah, sure, that's very clear.
Yeah, and that was, magnificent. And then we just, normally in a multi-camera music setting, I have a lot more cameras and a lot more equipment. And we just we kept, high quality, good equipment, but kept with really very good cinematographers.
And this was your first encounter with the work. You didn't attend any of the previous work.
No, it's not something, it's not as simple as, being able to just attend, because it's very rare that it happens in the first place. Indeed. Each event takes up to 2 years to plan and to organize, because it's such a complex thing to do something that goes through the night. And so I wasn't able to attend. They happened very rarely. I heard the compositions, I knew all about them, obviously, but because there was a lot of press and media. And actually, it was one of my editors, Dominic Whitworth, the lead editor on the project. He had attended Sleep before in New York. And he had actually been doing some projects for the record label to help promote the album. And so he really understood the experience as well. So that was quite wonderful when we got into the edit. And we were sort of sitting down and trying to figure out, how do we take this 8-hour composition down to, 90 minutes, 2 hours. It was really Dominic's experience that helped myself and him.
What kind of homework did you do? Because if I'm looking at the work, the musical work itself, it has like 31 themes, exactly as Bach Goldberg variation has. And Bach wrote his Goldberg variation also for some count who couldn't sleep. So in a way, did you delve into it? Or for example, another thing that comes into my mind is for famous soliloquy. Hamlet says, to dream, to sleep, perhaps to dream within, to be or not to be. So you have Shakespeare on one hand, Bach on the other hand, and Max Richter in the middle. What kind of homework does one do before coming to such a project?
My homework is really about the artist's intention. That's where it comes out. I understand from speaking, my homework comes in interviews to start. First of all, when I was approached with the project, was sitting down and talking to Max and his partner Julia about the intentions for the project, what it took, how they actually sort of pull it together. And I'm really listening just to the artist first and foremost before I understand it in the broader context. So I had listened to the Bach Goldberg variations because Max does call those out as an influence or as a sort of another artist who's tried to achieve similar things, and there is some of that understanding that Bach brings to it that Richter is applying in his compositions. But really, it's just listening. My research is really listening to the artist himself and his intentions for the work, and both artists in this case, their intentions, because it's, the compositions and the experience, they go hand in hand. For me, I have a very different experience or feeling about the compositions from having experienced them in this beautiful open air night while
the decision how much music of the work and how much background material, past interviews, past performances, how did you calculate when does it be boring? On the other hand, how interesting can it be? I think go ahead.
That was actually the challenging part. How much music? How do you preserve the compositions? This journey. The way I felt about it, Max writes so cinematically. Without lyrics in the composition, there's a story, and I couldn't tell you exactly what that story is. It's unique to all of us experiencing it. But I felt like if I listened to the music, it would tell me, and the music spoke back to me to say what should be in myself and the editors, the team working together. It was interesting because, it feels quite, it doesn't feel like it's your privilege to be able to cut a composer's work down. And I was quite nervous about showing Max the first edit to say, these are the parts of your composition I chose to share in the film. And he was like, he listened to it first time. He said, no, that's right. That's you've done it. And I like I said,
it's flexible in a way.
Yeah. And so really, for me, there was two parts as well. There was the story and really understanding Max and Julia as artists and composers, and understanding what it takes to put a piece of work like this together. So that story to help me understand the value of this work was really important. So it's just a feeling. It's very, very difficult to say like I had a formula or anything like that, but it's just like about deep listening.
This feeling that you're talking about, now let's go back to the music. The choice of notes is very low key. It's very low key because it's supposed to talk to your body, to the way you sleep, not to make you unless at the very end the singer is going up in music and she's very high. But all along the limited sort of space that covers, it's very down, very low, very slow. How did it influence you personally before you went into the camera?
Well, I mean, it really influenced the cinematography very, very heavily. So I had walkie-talkies in the ears of the different camera operators, and we actually filmed for 2 nights. And not sleeping for 2 nights in a row, you know, for Max and for me, you're definitely in a different headspace. You know, it isn't a natural thing to be working through those hours, but listening to the music, you know, and talking to the cinematographers, quite often I would just find myself taking very deep breaths and just saying, whatever you're shooting right now, let's slow it down. Like, no matter how slow you feel you're going, you're going to go slower, and you're going to just meditate on your image. And so that's what we did. Like the music sort of, if you just listen to it and roll with it, like it has this wave that sort of rolls over you. And what's interesting to me, there's a part in the movie, obviously there's where the frequencies change from these low frequencies.
Yeah.
The low frequencies are creating this very sort of calm feeling inside of you, and that's impacting the way the cinematographers around the world, all the different events are filming. They're slowing down, they're sinking into the performance. And then the sunrise comes, and Max starts to change the frequencies, and I can watch that scene where it changes out of context, and I still have the same goosebumps on my arm every time. And I have filmed it, and I have edited it, and I have watched it a million times, and each time it does something.
You couldn't ask for more. So you couldn't really ask for more. Now, when you choose your leads, some faces, some characters, they are coming again and again. Of course, it was one of them was one of the musicians. She goes to her sleeping bag, she comes out, and all of a sudden you see she goes to the stage, she retunes her viola or violin, whatever it was, or cello. The cello. And there's another one next to her with curly hair, with whom you focused on them. How does one choose? You know, how you have like 800 or 1,000 people. How do you choose, this one will be my object, and this one I will stay, and I will follow him wherever he goes within this 8-hour project?
I think that the composition is written, you know, for certain instruments at certain times to sort of rise up and rise to the surface. And there is a performing, can you imagine playing your instrument for 8 hours, you know, straight through the night? You know, when I was filming, it was just such a, you know, you really sink into a place that you rarely go when you're working, because we're normally allowed to stop after a few hours. But the depth of sort of performance that happens when you are sinking into those notes, and the notes are very repetitive, and so they're very meditative. And so the eye is naturally drawn to where the composition is sort of focused. That's the first part. So it's going to where the note, the sort of my apologies. It's going to where the notes are calling, you know, the instrumentation. But then there's moments where the musician has sunk so deep into the music, they're almost becoming the music. And so the Clarice is the cellist that you're speaking about in that moment. And for me, it was just mesmerizing to watch Clarice. Her body was playing. It wasn't, you know, a mental thing. She was playing with her entire being. And that was the thing
especially with the cello, which actually has a very human voice, unlike the viola and the violin. It talks the same level of voice, and it is very human. Always, the cello is always human. So, but there were some other characters whom you followed throughout. How did
the audience members? So what we did, because we wanted to preserve the experience for people, we did email the audience and ahead of time. We sent a notification, and we said, you know, very, very respectfully, Max has chosen this special performance to capture. We will have cameras, but you can at any time tell us not to film you. We do not sort of expect that everybody will be happy to be on camera. If you see us and you're not happy about it, please tell us. We're very approachable. And if you are interested in participating in the film, let us know, send us an email back. And so we got quite a few emails from audience members saying, we'd be interested. And so we actually met some people coming in. And so we followed them to their beds. We knew where they were. And so we tried to focus the cameras on people who had explicitly said to us, we're okay with you filming us. Also because sleeping is a very private and personal thing. So we had to approach this with very, very light feet, very respectfully. And so the folks that you see, the faces that you see, are faces of people who, you know, felt willing, you know, invited us to film them or to be around them, or didn't chase us away.
How can you be awake when everybody around you is sleeping throughout the film? Was it too difficult?
It is difficult. It is difficult because I'm not a night owl at all. I'm definitely a morning person, but it's quite something to watch people sleeping and to watch strangers sleeping. You realize, I mean, when else will you ever experience this? When will you, and think, you know, the audience watching, when will you ever experience sleeping next to a lot of strangers and waking up together? And so for me, watching that, it was a great privilege. And so it was very, I realized it was something that I'd never seen before and might not see again. Who knows when, you know, Max would be able to put a show on like this. As I said in the beginning, they take years to coordinate and to get approval to put on and to figure out how to do it. And, you know, they don't want to make it a very expensive ticket. The tickets were, you know, really not much money at all compared to the amount of work that it took to put on. Something that's important as well to mention about that exterior, that outdoor space, that sound system was a state-of-the-art sound system that was made to sound like a cathedral in the outdoor space.
I believe it's the influence of Belgium and England. They wanted to have the same atmosphere outside.
Yes. Yes. And so it was really wonderful. But that is, you know, that is a highly technical, you know, undertaking, very expensive.
And the listeners were aware that it has a cathedral sound? Did they react to it or not really?
I think so. I mean, I think so. I think maybe we don't always understand everything that goes into the experience that's created. But, you know, it was amazing to watch people come in sort of a little bit tense and then see them visibly tenderized by the experience.
Once you finished taking the photos, what was the footage? I mean, how much did you have at the end, and how much did you decide to leave?
Wow, we had a lot. And we had, I think, I only know in terabytes now, you know, what we had, but I think we had 32 terabytes.
Wow.
Of footage. Maybe a little bit more, just over 32 terabytes of footage. So a lot. It was, you know, and the same thing, it's even, you know, Max had talked to me about when they first recorded the album, that it was the Pro Tools recording, you know, system couldn't hold 8 hours of music. And we had the same when we were recording it live, because that music is 100% the live recording from the 2 nights. And actually the second night, the machine crashed because 8 hours, like Pro Tools is just not made to record 8 hours straight. So it had to have, you know, backup redundant recordings going, and one of the recordings crashed. And yeah, it's very, very, very difficult. Very difficult.
He seems to be very calm. Max seems to be very calm and takes it very easy, and I think it's a matter of character.
Yes. I think, you know, like this is the most ambitious and selfless undertaking that I've known an artist to do. You know, it's not it really is a gift to the world, and Max just, he goes the distance in a way that yeah, I think it's very, very special. And it was a great privilege to be able to journey with Max and Julia just for a very short period of their long journey with this work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this work started in many years ago, just in ideas, but 2015 is when it started to come out, and we recorded in 2018 the LA event, and then continued to record a little bit after that with all of the documentary stuff. But when it's such a big project, it's a monumental piece, that he's creating. It was just a real gift to be able to work alongside an artist with this much integrity and this much commitment to the work.
The decision of how long would your film be? How did it work out? You could have had 60 minutes, you could have 90 minutes, you could have 20 minutes. So
I wanted it to be an experience that could travel and would be able to be experienced in the cinema. I wanted, in the same vein of the experience of the compositions and the live performance, I wanted there to be an experience that continued on with this. And it was 2 hours to start. And I trimmed it back. For me, a film has got to take you on a journey, and it has to have it has this ebb and flow that just keeps you engaged. And so really, the film is the length that it needed to be to remain engaging and capture the story.
So we have Natalie doing a film called Sleep, and she wants the audience not to sleep while watching it.
But there are these moments when you are watching it, if you did close your eyes and you did
were to recommend the public to tell why should I see this film, what would you say?
Because it's like medicine for the soul. It's, especially in the times we're living in. When we made the film, we didn't know that it would be this soothing or this important. The work was meant to be this respite from the busy, frenetic world. The work, the experience of the 8-hour composition, the live experience of that. But the film was meant to capture that as well. And I think now more than ever, we need this moment where we can breathe out. And for me, when I screen a film and I'm in the room with an audience, I'm always so nervous. Will they like it? I hope they like it. I hope they understand how much it means to me. And every time I sit in the theater and the film starts to play, within the first 30 seconds, my breath drops, I breathe out, and I'm calm, and I feel the medicinal quality of it. So I hope that that is, why people come to see the film, to have the space to think and to breathe and to, walk out feeling a little bit calmer than when they went in.
Natalie Jones, thanks very much for the time, and we will enjoy the film. Thank you very much indeed.
Yossi, thank you so much for such a good, compelling conversation, and I send you and everybody there all the best, and thank you for supporting the film. And please, I'd love to hear from everybody what you think about it. I know Max and Julia would love to hear as well.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.